Picture yourself reflecting on the countless blessings that surround you, mercies that have followed you all through life, some seen, some unseen. When all thy mercies, O my God, is a hymn that calls us to pause and consider these divine mercies, leading us to a place of deep gratitude, awe and praise. Today, let's explore the heart behind this timeless hymn, penned by Joseph Addison, and how it reminds us of God's goodness in every season of life. The first verse of the hymn speaks of the overwhelming feeling that God's mercies stir within us. It says, "When all thy mercies, O my God, my rising soul surveys, transported with the view, I'm lost in wonder, love, and praise." The hymn opens with a powerful reflection on the mercy of God. Addison's soul is transported by the view of God's mercy, a mercy that has been shown to him throughout his life. The phrase, "lost in wonder, love, and praise," reflects the overwhelming nature of God's mercy. The imagery here is of a person so moved by God's goodness that they are rendered speechless, caught up in worship. It's as if the sheer thought of God's mercies fills the soul with awe and a love that cannot help but express itself in praise. As you reflect on God's mercies in your life, what is one moment where you felt overwhelmed by His goodness? How did that experience draw you closer to Him? The second verse takes us deeper into God's tender care, as Addison writes, "Unnumbered comforts to my soul, thy tender care bestowed, before my infant heart conceived, from whom those comforts flowed." In this verse, Addison acknowledges the countless blessings and comforts God has bestowed upon him, blessings that were given even before he could understand or appreciate them. "Before my infant heart conceived" refers to God's provision even in the early stages of life, when we were unaware of His loving care. The image is one of God's tender, unceasing love, pouring out blessings that support and nurture our souls, even when we are too young to comprehend where they come from. Think back to your early life. Can you see moments where God's mercies were at work in ways you never realized before? Reflect on the unseen ways He has been caring for you. In the third verse, Addison reflects on the challenges of youth. "When in the slippery paths of youth with heedless steps I ran, thine arm unseen conveyed me safe and led me up to man." This verse captures a pivotal moment in life. Youth, with all its mistakes, reckless decisions, and uncertainty. Addison acknowledges that, despite his heedless steps, God's unseen hand protected him. Even when we wander, God's merciful arm is there to guide and keep us safe. The line, "led me up to man," emphasizes God's role in maturing us, not just physically but spiritually, guiding us through life's storms and helping us grow in wisdom and faith. How often do we reflect on the moments in our youth when we were unaware of God's guidance? Can you think of a time when, looking back, you realize God was leading you even when you didn't see it? In the fourth verse, Addison speaks of the many daily gifts from God. 10,000 precious gifts my daily thanks employ, and not the least a cheerful heart which tastes those gifts with joy. Here, Addison describes the countless gifts God bestows daily. 10,000 speaks to the infinite nature of God's blessings. From the big moments to the small, God's gifts are all around us, and yet the greatest of these gifts is the gift of a cheerful heart. A heart that can rejoice and give thanks for all that God has provided is itself a blessing. This verse calls us to look at our daily lives through a lens of gratitude, appreciating both the obvious and the unseen gifts. Think about the small blessings in your life, things that might go unnoticed on a busy day. How can you cultivate a heart that delights in God's gifts and gives thanks in every moment? The fifth verse points us to an eternal perspective on God's goodness. "Through every period of my life, thy goodness I'll pursue, and after death in distant worlds, the glorious theme renew." Consider the legacy of your own life. How will your pursuit of God's goodness influence the generations to come? How does this verse remind you that the praise of God is eternal? The final verse brings us to eternity. Through all eternity to thee, a joyful song I'll raise. For oh, eternity's too short to utter all thy praise. The final verse looks toward eternity, where Addison promises to raise a joyful song to God for all eternity. The idea that eternity's too short is a profound expression of how limitless God's goodness and grace are. No matter how long we live, we could never fully exhaust the reasons to praise God. Eternity itself will not be long enough to express the fullness of His glory. As you think about eternity, what does it mean to you that we will spend forever praising God for His goodness? How does that perspective shape the way you view your life today? When All Thy Mercies, O My God, was written by Joseph Addison, a famous English essayist and poet, in 1712. Addison was deeply influenced by the Psalms. The music for the hymn was composed by Frederick Arthur Gore Ouseley, a renowned British composer and musicologist who created the tune Contemplation. Ouseley was known for his work in church music and his deep devotion to sacred compositions. The melody he crafted complements the reflective and meditative nature of Addison's lyrics, emphasizing the hymn's themes of contemplation, grace, and eternal gratitude. The tune Contemplation was designed to evoke a sense of peace and reverence, which perfectly matches the mood of Addison's words. Addison's inspiration for the hymn came from his personal faith and the writings of the Bible, particularly the Psalms, which often emphasize God's mercy and unfailing love. His writings were deeply shaped by his spiritual views, and When All Thy Mercies remains a beautiful reminder of his deep connection to the themes of divine mercy and thankfulness. When you think about God's mercies, what comes to mind? Is it the big moments or the small daily blessings? This hymn invites us to not just count the blessings we've received, but to be deeply aware of the mercies that surround us in every moment. Personally, I've found that reflecting on this hymn always brings me to a place of gratitude. It reminds me that God's mercies are never in short supply, even in difficult seasons. No matter the circumstances, He is faithful, and His goodness remains ever present. As we close, let us reflect on the boundless mercies of God, mercies that have been with us from the very beginning and will continue into eternity. His goodness is the theme of our lives, and it will be the theme of our praise forever. If this reflection has touched your heart, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What does God's mercy mean to you today? Comment below and join the conversation. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring hymn content. Share this message with someone who needs to be reminded of God's goodness. Remember, no matter what you're facing, God's mercies are always with you.
When are thy mercies, O my God, my rising source of peace, transported with thy view, I'm lost in wonder, love, and praise. Numbered comforts to my soul, thy tender care bestowed. Before my infant heart conceived, from whom those comforts flowed. When in thy slippery powers of youth, with heedless steps I run, thine arm unseen conveyed me safe, and led me up to man. Thousand precious gifts, my daily thanks employ, and not thy least cheerful heart, which taste those gifts with joy. Through every period of my life, thy good